For those of you who have had the privilege of watching the recent blockbuster, Gravity, may easily see how that film relates to the title of my talk. The movie Gravity and my talk now share a similar theme in resiliency. For all of those who have yet to watch the movie, I'll provide a brief synopsis. This fictitious storyline documents the events of two astronauts. One is played by Sandra Bullock and the other George Clooney. The movie almost exclusively uses space as the setting. A critical moment involving both characters occurs about a fifth of the way through the film. The rest of the storyline depicts the struggles of Sandra Bullock, who eventually, following this critical moment, becomes separated from George Clooney and needs to fend for herself in an attempt to enter back into the Earth's atmosphere. I want to show you a clip of this critical moment. However, please understand the context first. You have these two astronauts, very successful people, participating in their remarkable careers. They're up in space right now, making probably hardy salaries, seeing sights that we only dream of seeing, performing duties that we as kids only dreamed of performing. These two are living the life, to say the least. And the world is practically at their fingertips. The astronauts receive a notification, however, from their headquarters back on Earth, and things go terribly wrong. The notification alerts them that there's a collection of satellite debris in their orbit and is about to make contact with their location. Thus, while tending to mechanical duties on their spaceship Explorer, they panic. Please enjoy the clip.
Explorer, do you copy? Mission Specialist Ryan Stone, I am off structure and I'm drifting. Do you copy? Anyone?
Detached, drifting, and so begins her moment of resiliency. In a matter of moments, Sandra Bullock's world is completely flipped upside down. Spinning out of control, there's no presumable help in sight. Ironically, the movie Gravity makes us feel claustrophobic. Now you have impending doom while you're hovering over the world, hoping and wishing its force would somehow bring you back down to Earth, back to reality. A great and vast space that somehow makes us feel trapped. And that's what happens when the Earth beneath our feet leaves us. We feel trapped, staring at a great sphere full of life out of our reach, because where have we traveled? We, as human beings, endure the same moments of trial. Now, granted, I understand we're not all astronauts and we don't typically find ourselves floating in space into infinite darkness, but we do find ourselves there. And I know I'm able to relate to personal moments in my life where the world has been flipped upside down. It seems like no help is anywhere to be found. No escape is evident. Things only can get worse. And I have an inclination everyone here in the crowd, in the audience, can scratch up a memory or look to the dynamics of their current lives and see the same trial to some degree or another. Exactly a year ago, I was the heroic astronaut on top of the world living the ultimate life. And one of the main components of my life, my family, was a great part of this elation. I lived in supposed certainty that my family was the happiest on earth. We could get through anything, nothing could get in the way of our love, where we were going. I expected we would live on together in harmony as we harvest more collective memories together. Well, from this point forward, it took a matter of 3 months to start a series of unfortunate events, collections of satellite debris in my own orbit. And nearly 2 months ago, a fairly climactic moment happened in my life at the passing of my mother. Now I stand, still in utter shock, with my sister, who probably can relate the closest to the situation. We both lost our mother, and we consistently ask, how us? I know I ask, how me? And our perfect family and lives, how could it disappear? Well, I've detached, and my world has been flipped upside down. So now I'm in my moment of resiliency. And resiliency is not what most people scratch it up to be. And this is why I'm here to talk to you. We have an idea of resiliency as toughness, fighting off emotions, of sensitivity, holding back the tears, turning your back and shielding the pain as you shy away from it, moving forward, running from that pain, and carry on. The typical cliches. I'm here to tell you this is the wrong approach, by far. I realized I can't just put these happenings out of my mind. I mean, how can anyone put an event, what force is out there to completely not have me think about the passing of my mother? Any event that has impacted you, even if it was just for the few minutes before you said, that's done, I'm not thinking about it anymore, it has still impacted you. And that impact is forever. You are forever changed and forever influenced, even if it is in the most minutely of significant ways. Those of you in the crowd now looking upon your own trials, whether they be past, whether they be present, obviously you haven't put them out of your mind, you're reflecting on them now. And that's fine, that's great. I'm trying to encourage that. I'm going to be dealing with these trials of my own being for the rest of my life. And should I hide? Well, the answer is no. And I'm telling you, the best way to address the trials in your life is to turn right to them and face them head on. Embrace them. To reiterate, these situations will affect us and influence us. That is a given. It's uncontrollably inevitable. What we do control, however, is how we let these situations influence us and impact us. That is where we apply our free will. And life is a series of decisions you make in a world, almost an arena of cause. Then you react. React to these circumstances. I urge you, instead, by embracing them. It is remembering. It is taking the positive and bettering those around you. It is not pulling away from it. It's grabbing it and moving forward with it. It is not shying away from it. It is having faith. It is embracing the moment and its emotions. And this allows a person to analyze it, rationalize it, and reflect on it. In doing so, a person is able to recognize what they can learn from the situation. How is this even possible if we run in the opposite direction? Thus, the situation, presumably a tragedy, provides a unique opportunity for the now bettered person in us to carry forward with. Me? I'm hanging on to these principles. Every day, I'm trying my best to embrace the pain. I feel the pain and recognize the impact it has on me, and for me, that's the greatest motivation to avoid reproducing the same pain in other people's lives. In specifics, I'm looking forward to my future life, my future children. Only oneself, the victim of said unfortunate event, has the ability to embrace and capture the opportunities of a negative situation. Please do that. I recall my thoughts during the call-in hours on the weekend of my mother's funeral. I stood in line, having one person after the other bombard me with hugs, kisses, handshakes, and the like. The moment was overwhelmingly positive for me as I stood there, grieving alongside my family members, as friends and close associates formed themselves in a line and came with their love and support. I was there for hours. The line seemed endless. But the point of the matter is, it only seemed endless. And eventually the line had to stop, and when it did, sure, I still felt the leftover love and outreach. I still do today, and forever I'll be greatly blessed because of that. But when I got in my bed later that night, I can assure you there was no line of people running across my comforts. Who did I have? I had me. Just me. No more line. Just me. Since my resiliency exists, well, it thus must come from inside me. The line brought me and brings me empathy. The line brought me and brings me sympathy. The line brought me, and still to this day, brings me compassion. Now, sure, the world is out there, and its people are out there, like those who lined up for me and my family that day, and they're out there to draw strength from. But even with that dynamic, we must realize it is still oneself deciding to accept and absorb that strength from others. It is still that person feeling so vulnerable and disoriented who needs to open themselves up to others, humble themselves, and take what help is there in the offers. In my moments of resiliency, I must look beyond the line, if you will, and peer introspectively, locate my internal driving force, and I can tell you that is my faith in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That is the number one tactic of resiliency, looking beyond the line and into oneself. This metaphor plays out in Gravity. Later on in the movie, Sandra Bullock, who eventually becomes separated from George Clooney, is there staring at the world, hoping the world and all its people would help her, but all she has is herself. Eventually, we learn of the loss of her child many years prior, and how that's a constant battle in her day-to-day life. Abandoned and alone, she eventually finds herself in a capsule from a Chinese space station, and essentially she concedes to her death. She's hopeless. Hopeless because she no longer has the experienced Clooney to guide her through all the protocol, to comfort her, to protect her. And after searching avidly in the capsule, there's no instructions on how to direct it back to Earth. She decides to cut off the oxygen supply, giving into death. But miraculously, she looks internally, right before her last breath, and taps into her faith. She recognizes her faith and how her son, who she loves so much, is up in heaven right now, being greeted by a gentleman, George Clooney, who gave her so much love and comfort. That motivates her, and not only motivates her, but clears her mind as she's allowed to think back to her simulated training from Earth and direct the capsule back into the atmosphere, and eventually is safe on land. Sorry to spoil the ending for you, however, I figured the talking point was vital. I want to conclude by emphasizing how you're watching me up in my capsule right now. You'll notice I'm standing behind this podium here, and I'm in a suit, black suit, white undershirt, red tie. In a unique way, this is part of me being resilient. I'll admit it, it's hard standing up here, reflecting on these topics and having to give a talk about them, handling nervousness, emotion, and so on. But by me putting on this outfit and placing this podium before me, it brings me back to the day of my mother's funeral, where I was in the same exact attire behind a podium, and I spoke before a crowd of 800 people willing to pour out their love to me. It was a moment of comfort. It was unbelievable. And I was successful in honoring my mother with uplifting words regarding the faith she and I both shared. And that podium, and in a strange way, this suit brings me that encouragement. And I need it now to utilize this opportunity I have from losing my mother to give a talk that is not only healthy to me, but to use the situation and embrace the situation in order to capitalize on an opportunity to motivate others. I will carry this moment forward, draw on the love and care you all have expressed right now, as you graciously listen to my talk, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and hopefully I've begun to return the favor by motivating you to rethink resiliency and look beyond the line. Thank you very much.